It's time for Tycoons of Small Biz, spotlighting the true backbone of the American economy, the true tycoons of business in America, the owners, founders, and CEOs of small businesses. The show's hosts, Austin Peterson and Landon Mance, are registered representatives of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation, a broker-dealer member SIPC, and registered investment advisor. The views expressed by your hosts, Austin and Landon, are not necessarily the views of Lincoln Financial Advisors. Let's lean in as Austin and Landon connect with this week's Tycoons.
Good afternoon, Tycoons, and welcome to today's episode of Tycoons of Small Biz. As always, I'm Austin Peterson, joined by my co-host Landon Mance, and we are excited to have on the show today Sam and Shermeen Greenmun with Where It Is, coming to us live from Los Angeles. Sam and Shermeen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Austin and Landon.
Thank you.
Really excited to be here today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and we can see on the screen, for those of you who are watching it on video, we can see some of your apparel in the background, mainly the masks, which is a big item, as we all know today, for this time being during COVID-19. So we're excited to hear about that and how you guys kind of got your start. But before we do that, we always like to have our guests tell us a little bit about themselves personally. So you guys are husband and wife, obviously, but tell us a little bit about your personal lives. Do you have any kids? And kind of how did you guys end up together and starting this apparel company?
Well, we met on the job. I was doing behind the scenes visual displays. Shermeen, tell them what you were doing.
Oh, I worked in luxury retail. So we met working at Saks Fifth Avenue. He was doing Vanity Fair, and he had some big projects in the film industry that he was doing at the same time. We just connected and started dating, and a few years later, here we are with 3 kids. So they're all a year apart, and they're in elementary school. I have already always been in Beverly Hills area, so I was based here. Been here for 15 years. And then moved up to Bel Air, and that's our little city where we developed Where It Is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 3 kids, all 1 year apart.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's where we found out, now that they're growing a little older and they're more self-aware, they were looking for things to wear that were cool, and they didn't want to wear stuff that was just off the rack. So they would always come to Dad and ask him if they could wear something custom, because they know that Dad had his past life in specialty wardrobe. So he could take any material and work with it and come up with, really cool costumes or everyday wear for the kids at school. And that's where we got a lot of moms and dads asking us, hey, where are you getting your kids' clothes? Because we want to have something like that. And that's where Sam decided, we should do something like that for other people.
Yeah, I think it was our kids' growing interest in, their clothing and their fashion and noticing, I wonder, wearing that today, why now? They sort of developed their styles. And when we would look to the wardrobe or something that we thought maybe they want to wear, it was interesting to find out what their interests were. And so I started paying attention to, what is it that you like to wear? Visually, I'm always in tune with the scene, what people are looking at, what they like to do. Because my background was in graphic design and the movie business and specialty wardrobe. And so I started thinking, I should develop some designs that my kids would want, designs that maybe we haven't seen or haven't been able to find. So that led me to start thinking about just, basic t-shirt designs and things like that. Then you should say, well, we should just launch a line. We should do a whole line. And as our kids were getting older, I realized, they want more than t-shirts. They want hoodies, and they're into hats, and they're into shoes. And that really got us thinking, okay, well, what is it that we can offer visually maybe is a little different or hasn't been done before? And so that became my challenge, to create ideas or graphics, designs that maybe were slightly different, or took, one aspect of a design that somebody might like and put it with something else that maybe hadn't been done before in combinations. So kind of led me down a path of starting an apparel line.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. We've been doing this show for not a terribly long time, but this is episode, I think 25, somewhere around there. And, there is a recurring theme. Actually, about half of the people that we've had on as guests didn't set out to start a business, didn't think that they were going to start a business. And then something like this happened, right? So you had your kids who were asking about different designs, or Dad, I want to look, cooler or whatever, which, I've got kids too. My son's 20 years old. My daughter's 17. And I remember very vividly back to when my son was about 13 or 14 years old. And he, he's an athlete, has been his whole life. And he came to my wife and I, and he said, I want to change my style. And my response was, you mean you want to get a style? Like he wore athletic shorts and t-shirts every day of his life, right? So he had no style. And it was about adding, creating a style for him, which he's kind of fallen into nicely, which has been fun to watch. So I understand how, our kids or our surroundings can kind of lead us to start to make decisions and even, starting a complete apparel brand. So that's a cool story and a great start to the business.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And, in LA, it's hard how do you make something cooler here? Because you can get everything so creative and cool. But then our kids are into gaming, and then they're into anime. So there's a lot of aspects that, when you go out to the mass market, you just can't find apparel with those certain games that they're into, or even, YouTube series that they are following because they're foreign. So that is when the challenge came to Sam, is that, hey, I want a t-shirt with this anime character. And, it's not a regular anime character. It's something very, very Japanese. So we had to custom make those for our kids. And they really, they don't care if others don't know about it. They are passionate about it themselves. So they just are wearing it really proudly.
Yeah. Oh, that's.
I got to jump in real quick, Austin.
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead.
Don't forget. I don't want to forget to ask this, because I think it's going to be a really cool answer. So, Sam, what costumes are you designing for the kids for Halloween?
Well, I am off the hook this year. I've been so overwhelmed with work that thank goodness their grandma is taking over the costume making this year. I think one is having an elaborate dress. Anime character. Yeah, it's really complex. So Grandma's stepped up this year to help take care of those Halloween costume duties. And they keep asking me, what am I going to be? I'm still brainstorming. I haven't decided.
Yes. Right. Yes, both the girls have custom costumes of anime characters from Danganronpa, some series. And the boy wants to be an evil clown, which he is every year. He is really into horror movies. He's only 7. But he loves horror movies and evil clowns, and his whole room is full of, all these characters from scary movies. So it's like a haunted room. So he's going to be an evil clown.
Wow.
And so we're excited. We always make them custom costumes. So yeah.
Yeah, it starts out simple and then it becomes more elaborate. I think that's just in my nature to just step it up and say, well, wait, we can do this and we can do this, which is always fun. But at the same time, I end up creating a monster, so to speak. It's like, how are we going to get this done before Halloween now? Yeah. But that's I think the creative path that I enjoy is those little sparks of ideas, and then on the business side, it's like, well, okay, how can we rein those in and make them real? Make this happen, in a business sense. When my mind has so many ideas, you can't do them all. It's not enough time.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So I have to ask. I'm thinking that I know the answer to this, but you say grandma's taking over the costumes. Is this grandma your mom or Shermeen's mom?
This is my mom, Sam's mom.
Okay.
Yeah, she's actually visiting for a short time. She's actually from Alaska, enjoying some California weather now. So it's kind of been a trend. Each Halloween, she manages almost every Halloween to come and visit. Just because since the kids were babies, she was always here, enjoyed the Halloween time and the trick-or-treating so much that, she just wanted to pitch in.
And all these handmade masks are her creation. Yeah. So it's a family business. So she helps us with custom, one-of-a-kind masks that, some of our high network clients request. Now, especially for Halloween, there are some parties going on that shouldn't be going on in the Hollywood Hills and the Bel Air Hills. So we've gotten some orders for those, which are custom orders. So she helps handmake those for us because those ones are really elaborate that they want. Yeah. So yes.
Request for wedding masks and pretty blinged out styles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and red carpet. And we already have holiday masks, like we're doing some velvet material, lace material. So yes, all kinds of fun masks that she produces by hand.
Yeah. Well, we're starting to see where Sam got his start in the custom apparel, and with his mom being a seamstress and doing these sorts of things, designing it, it's starting to make sense how Sam got into this early on and how you guys are doing this together now. So that's awesome to have it be a family thing. And I don't blame your mom one bit for getting out of Alaska this time of year. So
for sure.
Yeah.
They had a snowfall this morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was salmon fishing there the last week of September, first week of October last year. So 2019. And, the first day that I got there, it had been raining like crazy. We flew, just a puddle jumper from where we were to the lodge where we were going to go, fishing. And you couldn't fly above 1,500 feet because you couldn't see anything. First of all, we were flying instrument only until we got right to the lodge, and then it finally cleared a little bit and you could see. But the water level was 4 feet higher than it should have been, and it hailed that day. So, yeah, it's an interesting time of year to be in Alaska for sure.
Well, you're going to make Sam very jealous because he loves salmon fishing. That is, if he could just retire and be on that river, salmon fishing all day, he would do that.
Yeah, I can never get enough of it.
Yes.
I could go more often, definitely.
Yeah, no, it was the first time for me, and it definitely won't be the last. So it was a great experience. We were fishing on the Sayou River, if you know where that is at all, but it's, everybody kind of goes to the Kenai, but we were out in the middle of nowhere, nobody around us except for bears, which we did see at least one bear every day. And
wow.
we had a great time. So.
Yeah, his family's based in Homer, Alaska.
Okay.
So that's where, it's supposed to be the halibut capital of the world. But he still likes, like you, salmon fishing, the river fishing.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Yeah, reeling in a halibut can take hours and hours and hours, right? You can reel in a salmon in a few minutes. So
yes,
that's true.
That's true.
Oh wow, well that's awesome. Well, Landon, I'm sure you want to jump in and ask some questions and maybe even talk about Dana a little bit and her interview. That I think these guys would connect well with Dana.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we were kind of just doing our normal, pre-work kind of leading up to the interview with you guys, I was reading your bio and, poked around on your website. And, Sam, you've got a really interesting background in the film industry and doing, custom wardrobe designs and stuff. So I think it'd be really interesting just to hear a little bit more about that. And then also, from there, you guys can just lead into, telling us about the business kind of as it stands today. It seems like masks are a pretty big part of what you guys are doing, but you've also got all these other cool things that are coming up in the future. So we'd love to just hear about all that.
When I was younger, I was fascinated with behind the scenes. My earliest memories of going to Disneyland, places like that, and watching the animatronics. It was fascinated in how they did those kind of things, and I want to learn how to make those things. And I was fairly artistic, so I draw and paint and learned to sculpt. So all through school, I enjoyed those classes the most, art classes, and later on learned to use tools and build and fabricate, and decided I wanted to go into special effects. I didn't know anybody personally in the business, so I just kind of did what I could on my own in my garage, learning how to sculpt and paint. And I was specifically interested in special makeup effects or creature design, sort of the fantastic fantasy, things like that. Halloween, I was a big fan of Halloween, so I learned to make Halloween masks on my own and props. So I think when I was about 25 years old, I worked on my first movie. Met some people who were also trying to get in the business of directors and filmmakers, and I was doing some special effects on my own and showed them my portfolio and said, this is what I know how to make. And so started from there, working on small films in Hollywood, Los Angeles, and landed a job at a special effects company, was a prop maker and doing some special effects, and a lot of specialty wardrobe, which is basically combining sewing of fabrics with hard parts armor, like a suit of armor or a spacesuit, where you have a lot of plastic and metal, pieces like that have to be fabricated, cut. Maybe you start out sculpting and then making a mold and casting in plastic or fiberglass, something like that, and then combined with the fabric part. So my job was to make most of the hard plastic or metal pieces, and sometimes painting and installing electronics like lighting. So that became kind of a common theme of the jobs. And the movies that I was working on were specialty wardrobe involving spacesuits, suits of armor, a lot of futuristic, just a little bit of everything that was not normal for a piece of wardrobe that you could just go into a costume shop and rent. So in doing that, I never thought I would be really working wardrobe because my interest was somewhere else. But I learned a little bit about combining and fittings, combining special effects and prop making with wardrobe, and attended a lot of fittings for actors and kind of watched that whole process, and was slightly involved in doing some of the design on occasion for the costumes. And then, moved back onto doing some of the things like set designs and art direction. And I think it wasn't until after I started doing graphic design and trying to do a little more like home-based work. I've been in the business for a while, and the hours are pretty grueling. I thought, I want to find something as an alternative, as a backup, so I'm not always having to travel onto movie sets and around the country working on films. And so when I settled down with Shermeen and had family, I was doing graphic design, and realized that I still really wanted a creative outlet. I like to work with my hands, not just say on the computer doing, graphic design, movie posters. A lot of my clients were needing promotional materials and posters, and so I was doing a lot of that kind of graphic design and not so much on set. But I do miss the hands-on work. So, when our kids started talking about clothing and design, the design aspect caught my attention. So that's when Shermeen suggested, well, what about doing clothing? We have a background in wardrobe. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. Why not? And then the timing was interesting at that point as we were leading into COVID, because I was with the business Where It Is, the name Where It Is was a concept that I had come up years ago before I met Shermeen. And I thought someday in the future I might do something with this, because I was thinking it would be nice to have, as I was watching websites like Amazon, this marketplace grow, what if we had a place for apparel that just sells wearables? And I don't know what that would be, so I wanted sort of a wide range option. So I thought the name Where It Is, that's the place you go to get what you want to wear. That's where it is. So then years later, fast forward, Shermeen suggested, let's do some t-shirt designs, because coming up with ideas for the kids, I was fascinated by that. Like, well, they're talking about dinosaurs one week, or a cool shirt that had, a dinosaur eating pizza. I was like, that's cool, but I've never seen a dinosaur riding a scooter. what about that? So I designed a dinosaur riding a scooter for my son. Okay, this is kind of neat. I haven't seen any of those. So I started paying attention to that. And then about the time we were really starting to get some designs going to like launch the apparel company, COVID hit. And remember
Yeah, so COVID hit, and my brother is a huge influence in my life. He is the lead of COVID-19 and emergency response for WHO. And he handles 40 countries. He's based in the regional office of the World Health Organization in Manila. And, he is taking care of all the hardest hit countries, like China is under him, Japan, and New Zealand, Australia. So he suggested, hey, my dashboard is going crazy when I look at the US. And why don't you guys, you already have an apparel company, or you're doing apparel. Why don't you just pivot towards face masks? And why not washable, cool face masks that Americans would love to wear, just not the surgical, blue ones that you see now trashed all over the place. So, we talked about it and we were like, okay, let's try it out. And then we also had some clients who were asking for it. Just like our neighbors, our clients would already known that, we were selling our apparel to. They requested some custom face masks, the washable ones. So we pivoted, and before you know it, we started getting calls. It was all word of mouth. So people would see our mask on other people, and they were like, "Where did you get this cool logo mask or this design mask?" And then we started getting calls, and pretty soon we had the city of Beverly Hills call us. And we did masks for all of the government employees for city of Beverly Hills. And then, we got an aviation company. I think, Scott Bass. So we started growing rapidly. And when it came to, so June is when we got so many orders that we were backed up. In September, by September, we had to say no to a few orders because we are a small company, and we were just launching it, thinking our production would be this small. And of course, our bread and butter is not coming from what you saw on the website. It's coming through the custom orders. That there's a form, and you fill that form out, and you tell us what you want. So that order form started just coming like full. And right now, I think we're 15 clients backed up. And these are big clients. Like, it's not like one or two masks. They're like hundreds. So what's interesting all of a sudden is that the clients are willing to wait. They are okay with the way that we're backed up,
I think that just because of the sudden surge in demand for masks and a lot of the, the backlog, people, I see a frustration there. So they can't get what they need or what they want, but also they're kind of scrambling and go, okay, where else can we get this? What can we do? And, when just before we were switching over to masks, and I was really trying to get things organized for the apparel, I do a lot of research. I want to understand, everything I can about the product. And the other thing we wanted to do was something that was luxury. We both worked in that industry, and something that was also eco-friendly, sustainable. And then when it came to masks, when we realized that a lot of the medical industries were having a hard time getting the things that they needed all the time, just in large quantities, because there was a rush on all these disposable masks. But well, okay, now that's really interesting. What's going on here? And so I kind of looked to see, if that's a problem, and some are being discouraged not to go out and hoard those, leave those for like the medical industry, people who really need those. Well, then what's the option? Well, reusable face masks. And I thought, it's just like clothing. You have socks you change every day, you have shirts you change every day, you wash them and you reuse them, and that's responsible. You're not just throwing your clothes away every day. What about that face mask? but it wasn't easy to go and get something. And even if you saw it, maybe it wasn't quite right. Everybody's different, just like clothing. There's different styles, fits, fabrics, accessories. And we realized that this was really limited, what was out there. And then the question of, well, what do I actually need? What protects and what doesn't? So then it became this whole learning curve of, okay, let's learn about this mask thing. What's behind it? What's behind the science? And then also, because we thought, some people are not going to want to do this, or they just aren't into this, or they question it. But let's make it fun. Let's make this something that maybe, especially for children, well, they'll want to wear it. If they're supposed to wear it, they will enjoy it. If it's not just this thing they're supposed to wear, it's like fashion. But let's combine that. Let's take something that all of a sudden we're all supposed to, be wearing or be responsible and thinking about, and make it something fun and something personal. Just like so many people with their clothing, they're very picky about what they want. And so the challenge was, well, how do we find something like that? Well, yeah, we'll make what people want. And what was interesting is that when organizations, businesses with many people, a lot of staff, schools were realizing, oh, we're going to be required to provide masks. I thought, well, okay, what about something that they'd be proud to wear, or something that has a little flair or spirit, a little more enjoyable to kind of take the scare out of what's going on, but we want to provide something that's also quality so that you can reuse it, just like a good piece of clothing. It's just not something that's going to fall apart the first time. So a lot of research and testing and dozens and dozens of different fabrics and masks, making them from scratch, taking blank masks that are produced right here in LA, many styles and fabrics, organic, cottons, polyester, span, a lot of the same materials that were being used for apparel we were familiar with were slowly coming out in mask form. And so we're trying to offer a lot of options. And right now we're right in the middle of expanding product options. And at the same time, been bombarded with a very specific request for a logo mask, almost like promotion. And so our theme was kind of, protect and promote. So that has been consuming most of our time, is filling orders for logo masks. And we are trying to provide a style, that anybody might like, all different shapes and sizes, features, designs. So that's kind of where we're at now, trying to figure out how to, meet the demand and keep it interesting and keep the quality good. We're trying to do, a lot of USA made products, masks that are made in the USA, eco-friendly materials, designs,
and a lot of customization. So we have adjustable ear loops, and then we were sending those out, and we got an order from a nursing home in New York, and we sent them some samples, and then the feedback was, a lot of our nursing patients in the nursing home wear hearing aid. So that doesn't go well with them. And so they want the one around the loop around the head. So, we're like, no problem. If you like this material and you like that mask, we can switch it out and give you the kind that will work for your patients. So, we had a few masks that we were making for the Lakers, and they wanted, we are doing the purple with the yellow air loop. So it's, customization in the sense that everything from the stitching to how it fits and the materials, the elastic and, the stopper, everything can be customized to your taste. And that's what, you cannot find in the mass market, is that you place an order and you're like, I want that one mask and I want it exactly like that. And that's what we do. So,
Yeah.
And the feedback's been really helpful to understand what it is. I guess, it's just like clothing, what it is that people like and don't like. And so I feel my job has been to take that feedback and design masks that can suit everybody. Not everybody's different. Some people sensitive skin. Some people don't like anything touching their ear. Some people like something to fit very close to their face and snug, so they don't feel it sliding around. Other people want a little bit of room. They feel too claustrophobic, so maybe they want a looser fitting mask. So these are all considerations now that I'm trying to incorporate in products, and it's challenging and exciting to come up with these designs, and because it's all so new.
We had a few women come to us. It's an organization that said that they have to wear their mask for extended period of time because they work in the hospitality industry. So they have to wear it for almost 8 hours nonstop. And they were breaking out. The girls are young. They were breaking out in pimples. And they said, do you have any suggestion for that? And that's where Sam came up with that antimicrobial.
So we're testing some antimicrobial detergents that help with not just keeping your skin healthy and free from irritation, but also we're hearing a lot of feedback about how the masks, just like clothing, smells better after washing. It doesn't collect odor as fast. So that's another consideration that we've looked into. Those are just the things that we've learned that are important things that weren't maybe thought about in the beginning, but now are going to be everyday things that people are going to want, just like we want people to wash this mask. And if it can smell better than it normally would just sitting around the house, with sweat on or something, then that would be great too. And so, there's some detergents out there that are antimicrobial that really can go through the wash many, many, many times and still retain that protection. So that's kind of exciting to be exploring. And then on the fun side, especially with Halloween, we've been doing a lot with glow in the dark designs. And I think that this is another thing to kind of get people interested, in thinking about, okay, I need to wear my mask. What can I do today? And then in terms of safety, for as the daylight hours are getting shorter, we're coming up with some designs that have safety reflective strips and designs put on the front of the mask just to help at nighttime for safety. They're high visibility reflection designs for kids or anybody that's going to be out at night wearing a mask. So there's a lot of interesting design challenges like that too.
Yeah, so I've got several comments and several questions actually after that kind of came up. But let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll come back, and I've got questions, and I can see Landon nodding his head that he's got questions too. So look forward to continuing after the commercial if you'll stick with us.
Of course. Happy to.
Whether you're an established local company or a brand new startup, you can count on GBS to be part of your family. We're not just any benefits consulting firm, we're GBS. We have nearly 30 years of experience in group benefits, a strong sense of purpose, and it shows. GBS, believe in something better. gbsbenefits.com.
All right, Tycoons, welcome back. We're here with Sam and Shermeen Greenmun with Where It Is apparel company out of Los Angeles, Bel Air, really. And we're talking about what they've been able to do over the past year in building this apparel company. And even though they had to pivot completely from where they were with COVID and switch to masks, that they've been able to make it successful. And so, I've got several questions that kind of came up from the last segment where you were talking about that. And I think, honestly, every person in this world can say that they know more about masks than they ever thought they would, right? And so it's become part of our everyday world nowadays, whether we want it to or not. And Sam kind of hit on a couple of things. So first, let me kind of lay the groundwork here. So when this first started, my wife is on the board of a nonprofit that tells the stories of refugees that come into our country, right? And it's called Their Story Is Our Story. And my wife has a huge heart. She wants to help any way that she can. And so when this really kind of kicked off, my wife and daughter started making masks, and they were sewing them in our entertainment room at home. And at this point, they've made over 2,000 masks, which is, for their own sewing machine, is incredible. and they've done some of the things that you talked about. They're not doing it for profit. They're donating the proceeds to these refugee organizations around Phoenix and doing what we can to kind of help out there. But they've learned a few things along the way, right? And so they've learned about the nose clips that some people like, some people don't like the nose clips. The big thing that actually really sets my wife and daughter apart, and you guys may already be doing this, or maybe you want to, think about it, is people enjoy wearing my wife and daughter's masks because they use ear loops that are made from jersey cotton rather than elastic. It's more comfortable, right? My daughter's in the orchestra at school, and her doctor says, my wife made me a mask, but I don't ever wear it because the one that Ella made for me, the ear loops are buttery soft. Right.
Oh,
and so, it's pretty cool to have seen and been involved in this. And I don't have one of them here today, but I've got one that's got some baseball logos on it. And so, the customization, what Sam said is absolutely correct. People they don't want just a plain, medical mask, or even just a plain black mask per se, depending on, what it is that you're wearing. Today, I'm wearing a plain black mask, but it just kind of goes with what I'm wearing. So I'm good with it. But in the customization, Sam said a lot of people don't want to wear them, right? And some people think that, I think it's been politicized way beyond where it should be, but, they don't work, or it's useless, or I shouldn't have to wear them, or whatever. And so when you mentioned it, it made me think, and I don't know how big a sports fans you guys are, but several years ago at the Super Bowl, Marshawn Lynch was there being interviewed, and they have to show up for media day. And so they would ask him questions, and his response every time was, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Didn't matter what they asked him, I'm just here so I don't get fined, was his response, right? And so, you talk about customization. It made me think about the people who don't want to be wearing a mask, right? You could put all kinds of messages on that mask. My daughter can't stand wearing one every day because we are in-person school. She can't stand wearing it all day at school, but she and all of her friends would love wearing a mask that said, I'm only wearing this so I can be in school, or they're forcing me to wear this so I can come to school, or, something like that, I think would be awesome. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, would sell tons of those.
Yes, we have actually had some requests saying, I survived COVID. That's why I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
So... So we do have those kind of
I have a notebook that's just chock full of napkins, idea sketches, and just ideas at midnight. I'll just plug into my phone and then draw out. And the challenge is deciding, well, which one do we do first, and when am I going to have time to do that one? And because we have limited time to fill orders and to put things out there that anybody can go and shop around with. And so I feel like it's about my job now is to find those designs that most people would like. I mean, can't please everybody, but there's just too many fun designs that I'd like to see on a mask, but it's tricky to get them all out there. And I'm always bringing the ideas in and listening and asking people, what do you think? What would you like to have on there? And I can just look around and see how people love to show their style through what they wear, in clothing, tattoos, jewelry. And it's like, it can become that too. People really they're okay if they can express themselves through their mask. And so I just, my head's always spinning with all these ideas. It'd be great to see this and this, but then Shermeen's good at getting me to focus, rein me in and go, okay, we're trying to make this a business. So we have, a list of things to do and move it forward. So, there's some really, like you said, that's a great idea. And I wish I could somehow see all these ideas, finished on a mask and then see how people think of them. Yeah. So we're working towards that. And then also, trying to listen to what people want and then get it out there. And and learning about this whole process, because a year and a half ago, I never thought I would be making a face mask and designing like I never imagined.
Yeah.
Yep. Here we are.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, the first idea is free. After that, it's $1 royalty per mask. So
royalty checks coming your way.
Yeah. I'll give you this other bit of free advice as a guy who's been married for 22 years. The response is always, yes, Shermeen, whatever you say, Shermeen. You know, that's that has served me well over the last 22 years.
Yes, Sam's genius artistic mind just goes on a roll. You know, he's always coming up with these awesome ideas. And it's incredible because I'm not an artistic person. I'm not a creative person. I'm a very business-minded and driven person when it comes to branding. So we're opposite. So we're learning how to work together as husband and wife. And I've decided, like, instead of talking to him, I will just email him now because we will talk about it forever. And, you know, he wants his ducks in a row and he's a perfectionist. And it drives me crazy sometimes what a perfectionist he is when it comes to his product. And for me, I'm like, come on, talk, let's get it out there. They're waiting.
Orders to fill.
Yeah, we have orders to fill. And, you know, I'm that guy who has to email this person and say, you have to wait another week. And he's like, well, what about that? This mask. And what if I combine this with this material? And I'm like, let's get back on track. So yeah, it's challenging because, you know, he's my husband and he's the father of the kids. And then now it's the business partner. So yeah, we're keeping it very professional. Like I'm going to email him in the middle of the night when he's sleeping. So he sees it in the morning and we don't talk about it until he's done.
Yeah, it's an interesting path. And I'm learning a lot about how to work with Shermeen, my wife, and as a business partner too. And I think one of the most important things for me is to recognize what her strengths are. And sometimes her criticisms are a good thing, or pushing me and reminding me to stay on a schedule, you know, and what our tasks are. Because, you know, my creative mind tends to want to explore design elements or something that could just take me off in this, you know, this other direction. But, you know, we have schedules and you know, bottom line to think about. And so I've recognized that working with somebody very different than myself, who has different focus, who's trying to run a business with me is a blessing, because where, you know, my weaknesses are, she has strengths and vice versa. And so I think that's really helped me, you know, shrug off some frustration. I was just like, wow, I have all this work to do. It's so overwhelming. I want to enjoy this process. But at the same time, you know, we have to decide, well, what are we doing with this project? Oh, it is a business and we want to have fun with it. And another thing that I found is really important is, especially because of the lockdown situation, you know, the shelter in place, is we're a pretty tight-knit family, Shermeen and I and our 3 kids, and we have always spent a lot of time together. So for us, fortunately, it wasn't a huge adjustment. Just it was the time in our life where we were, and starting a home-based business that worked for us. We've been able to involve the entire family, even just beyond our immediate family, because we have relatives that are fairly creative too. And I liked that it was a chance for me to show my kids one way where you can run a business and it can be a family activity and you can do it together. And that moms and dads aren't just always moms and dads. Sometimes they can be a business partner or a boss. So it's been an interesting learning process, you know, kind of a slow one for them because, you know, they're busy with school and kid stuff. But I think we've been fortunate that we can sort of explore this process all together, and the family's been able to help out in one form or another, even if it's just, you know, sitting down and learning how to sew or, you know, how to design something in Photoshop for the design we want to create. They did some sketches for us and said, this is what we want to create. And well, that's great. And we all sat down and cut fabrics, just like you were talking about with your family. We started making some masks together. And, you know, they might not be as focused as I've been with it. You know, they'll lose interest for a while and then come back and pick something else up. Or once in a while, I'll show them something, an idea that I have, or say, can you try this on? We want to see how this fits. And what would you like to see on this? Or do you like this color? So it's been a good process of learning how to run this business and make it work, and then have the family involved. And I feel fortunate that we're all able to spend time together, that even though, the hours can be long, we don't miss each other because we're together. So that's been really great.
Nice. So I have a quick comment, and then I want to ask you guys a question about what your guys' thoughts are on the future of, wearing, washable masks. So I'm more of a plain Jane kind of guy. So I would love a mask, a black mask with that skull that's on your t-shirt, something like that. Now, Austin's a lot more flamboyant. He would probably like that one, the one with the blue rhinestones on it. That one he would definitely wear. But
I don't know that flamboyant is the word that I would use. Maybe fashion. How about fashion forward?
Fashion. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But in all seriousness, guys, you guys have a really unique perspective. So you got Sam, with your background, and Shermeen with your background in fashion, and you said your brother that's in the WHO, and your guys' involvement in a fashion leading community. What are your guys' thoughts around the future of this whole mask thing? I mean, is this gonna just poof go away one day? Is this something you guys see sustaining for years to come? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
So I don't think the masks, unfortunately, is going anywhere anytime soon. I feel like it's here to stay for at least the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Even if we come out with a vaccine, I don't think everybody is going to rush out to get the vaccine because, as you know, the vaccine itself has been rushed. And a lot of our informed clients have already confided in us that they don't want to be the guinea pigs. They don't want to be the first ones to get the vaccination. And even if you want to get the vaccination, there will be distribution challenges when it comes out. So it will be retained for, the elderly or for people in the military or people who really need it. So once the vaccine comes out, which is another 6 months away, which we've heard from different people who are in the know-how, and the distribution will by the time everybody can get it, it will probably be 2022 and beyond. So, do people want to go out and get this vaccination that they don't know the side effects of yet because it has not been launched and proven on the general population? Or would they just rather keep their social distance and wear a mask? And we have actually asked this of our clients, and most of our clients have, told us, they would rather wear the mask and socially distant and not get the vaccination, the first one that's out, and they're willing to wear it for another 2-3 years. So we're looking at the branding of where it is, as the mask will always be there, even if you are vaccinated. The COVID is not going anywhere. It's not going to poof vanish. So when it comes to the flu season, it will arrive again, and the elderly or the younger population during that period will definitely still wear masks because now people will get used to it and they will automatically go to it for protection. So yes, we are branding it as a staple in our brand, and that is where we are seeing it. It's going to be the Hodex accessory, the go-to accessory, like when you grab your Birkin bag or you grab your wallet, is going to be the first thing that you grab, and then you grab your wallet because you can't go out without it. So that's why we have long-term plans for it.
Yeah, but initially I was really surprised when I was looking at the numbers and some of the studies, and they're saying, well, yeah, this isn't going to go away. This is not going to be an easy thing. I guess just I was naive. I was like, well, really? Like, how long? I mean, I don't think it'll last that long. We'll figure this out. But yeah, it's like every month I hear new reports and new studies that say, well, it's a little trickier than we thought. We're not going to be able to just knock this out right now. And so I was surprised that this, to hear that this probably is going to last as long as Shermeen is saying it is. And the more I listen and hear, and I keep hearing that, I was like, yeah, she might be right. This could be around for a while. So
we'll have a great resource, my brother.
But that's been another thing too. Is in the beginning when I first was hearing numbers, it was on the radio. We listened to the radio every day, and I was hearing these numbers, and I was like, Shermeen, did you hear the numbers on the radio? This is kind of serious, I think. Let's not jump to conclusions, but we were just kind of running some numbers on our own, and okay, how does this compare to the flu? And I remember actually in February, I went in for a checkup from a doctor's office, and I was aware and pretty cautious of what was going on, and I got the sense that a lot of people weren't aware of the seriousness of it.
Masks were not
overseas. I think here in the States, a lot of people they didn't really, either they hadn't heard or they weren't concerned yet. And I remember having to go into some stores after just hearing on the news of how bad it was in other countries, thinking, well, I should be taking some precautions, and nobody here really seems to be doing that. But when I went into my doctor's office, I did bring a mask just because of some of the things I had heard. And I happened to have some disposable masks because what I do when I build and fabricate, I always had those around for painting and sanding projects. And so I walked in with some, and I remember one of the staff saying, oh, you have one of the good ones. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, we cannot get those. We're supposed to go get that kind. We can't. And I was like, wow, okay. So then when I was talking to my doctor, he kind of explained the situation and what the importance of the mask is, and a lot of it has to do with how you wear it and what kind. And so I asked him, well, tell me what you know about this, from a doctor's point of view. And so he said, well, we're still learning a lot. I just felt like, well, okay, this will, 6 months, maybe this will all be handled. And I was surprised. It's like it's getting worse. And I've been hearing, the reports of how it's traveling around the world, and there's some the surges and delayed response in news reports and things like that. So yeah, it's this for me. I've kind of opened my mind to like, okay, this could be here a while. And so the mask part of the business, I was not assuming that it was going to maybe be long term. I just thought, we'll just do it because people need it. We're having a hard time finding what people want or what we even wanted. Initially, I was thinking, is it that hard to get these masks? Like, really, doctors' offices can't find this? The things that they usually could get. And we went online to see, they're right, we can't find this. Everything's sold out. And we looked, okay, what about, reusable, washable fabric masks? And there just wasn't a lot out there. When we found it in some countries, it had been out there, just not in the quantities that was needed all of a sudden.
Well, we got orders from France because France couldn't find good quality washable face masks. And I have a lot of friends who are in Europe, in Switzerland, and in France. And, I was hustling to send it overseas to them because they're like colleagues from my past brands that are asking for washable masks because they were back ordered 2 months in France. So, and now in other countries, they have a really strict staple, like you cannot just wear a cloth mask. You have to wear one with a carbon filter. So when I was shipping them overseas to some of my friends, they were like, don't send us plain ones. We want ones that are fully protected because that is actually the law here. So, in every country, it's now that I'm finding out, it's very different the way they're handling it or their policies and procedures. And it's great to have my brother, who's also a doctor. His wife is a doctor, and that he is the lead of COVID-19 emergency response. And, he has to contain it in 40 different countries. So he updates the dashboard every single day. And he is in the midst of it. Like he works 20 hours a day on just this pandemic. So I have asked his feedback, and from his perspective and his colleagues' perspective, it's not going anywhere, and masks are going to be here from their projection, it's from 5 to 8 years out. So I'm being conservative, saying that it's 3 years, but that's what their WHO is projecting is going to be there for 5 to 8 years at least.
Yeah. Well, I personally, honestly, I don't know that it really matters if and when COVID-19 goes away, to be honest with you. My brother-in-law has spent an awful lot of time in Korea, speaks Korean. He's a white man living in Orange County, but speaks Korean, lived there for a few years when he was like 19 to 21 years old. And now he works for a Korean law firm in Orange County. And, he talks an awful lot about, his experience is Korea. And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see in our country that even before this happened, it was most commonly worn by Asians.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And
yes, I worked in Japan and everybody was wearing it in the morning for pollution. Or if they're, it's just courtesy. If you have a flu or you cough, you have to wear the mask.
Yep.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's the courtesy that he hit on, is that, it's the courteous thing to do, right? So I suffer from seasonal allergies. And so I'll sneeze or I'll get a runny nose or, different things like that. And I know that it's allergies, or at least I assume that I know it's allergies. But the courteous thing to do going forward would be for me to put a mask on. If COVID's long gone and they've solved it and the vaccine is super efficient and nobody ever gets it again, great. But we're always going to have some sort of infectious disease. We always have the cold. We always have those sorts of things. And so I think that you're right that it'll be around forever. Will it be what you sell the most of in the future? Probably not, right? I mean, I think you guys know that, but I think that it will stick around as an accessory. And we've got enough people in the United States now who are realizing it's really not that big of a deal to throw a mask on if there's a chance that you're going to get somebody sick. Or if you're going to spend time with one of your loved ones that's in their 80s or 90s, it's just the smart thing to do, right?
Yes,
and so...
yes.
I think it's just become way too political about who should wear a mask or shouldn't wear a mask and this and that. But it's about courtesy and about keeping public health. I mean, this is sad. But I was watching a game show the other day, and one of the questions, and this was pre-COVID that it was recorded, but one of the questions was, if 3 men go into a public restroom, how many of them wash their hands before they came out? And the answer was 1. Right? And it's like, well, now we understand why there's a problem, right? We've not been great in our country about doing the small and simple things that we need to do to avoid infectious diseases being transmitted throughout our country. And I think this has brought to the forefront that we need to be better.
Yes, definitely. I think you're totally right that if we had just done, with washing our hands, putting a face mask on, and then keeping a little distance, it would have been a lot better. But it has been politically on the fence, and I'm not sure why. It's very scientific, and it is an infectious disease. Actually, my aunt is the head of chair of Ebola in South Africa, and she's a very established microbiologist. So, she that's what she was driving into the health ministry, is that you just have to take precaution. And I just heard lately from the chief of staff saying that we're just going to figure out how to, we're not going to contain it anymore, but we're just going to figure out how to live with it. And I think that is scary, because you can contain it if you have the right measures in place. So, and, if it's not coming from the state level, we should just be educated enough to do it on our own, because it is our health and the health of our family and loved ones. So you're right. It should not be a political debate. It should just be a standardized common sense that people should follow, just like other countries are doing, without it being a political issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so we may not be wearing them every day going forward 5 years from now, but I think we will still be wearing them on an as-needed basis on an as-courteous basis. So unfortunately, we're running out of time. This has been a great conversation. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed it. I know Landon has as well. But I want to make sure before we cut you guys off that you give us an opportunity to know what the XYRRA line is. And maybe it's Zyra. I'm not sure. I should have asked ahead of time. Or Zira, but tell us what that is, and then end by telling us where to find you guys online, and we really appreciate you being on the show.
Sure. So it's pronounced Zytra, and it's a name that we brainstormed, which is a combination of our daughters' names blended together. So we want to work on providing, I guess it would be clean, healthy apparel, organic, quality, clean, sustainable, eco-friendly. I think that's the main theme with our Zytra line that we're developing right now.
Yeah, it's a more higher end line, so it's all going to be done handmade. We're going to launch things that are one of 5, 1 of 1, and 1 of 10. And then once that is sold out, it's sold out. And sometimes we already have Zytra in the works, and we will get an email from our client, like from our contact on the website. Hey, what new hoodie do you have from the Zytra line? And we email them the image of the hoodie that we have right now. Well, if that client buys it, which usually they do instantly, when it's bought, then when we get another request from another client about a hoodie, they will be shown a different image or a totally different hoodie. So these are limited production, and they are hand done, made in USA, made of organic or hemp material or sustainable materials, the price point usually from t-shirt is from $150, and then the hoodies going to $350 to $550, and so that's our premium ultra luxury line that we have launched, and that is our secret menu. So you will not see it on our website yet. I'm not sure when we'll see it on the website, but it's like an underground, cool secret collection that is already out there. Between Beverly Hills, Bel Air, New York. We have some in Geneva. So you will see it here and there, and then you'll know if you see Zytron's any apparel, you'll know where they got it from.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, my mom told me my whole life I was one of a kind, so I probably would have gone with the Austin line, but with your 3 kids, I'll forgive you.
You are one of a kind. She was right.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Moms are always right.
Yes. Thank you very much. So tell us where to find you guys online so that our listeners know where to go and find all this apparel.
Sure. So it's wearitis.com, wearitiz.com.
And there's a phone number there, our contact information, so you can just email us, and we will get back to you right away with some cool stuff.
Very cool. Landon, any last words?
No, I just thank you guys for your time today. You guys have a really incredible story, so thank you guys for sharing it with us, and we wish you guys the best of luck.
Well, thank you so much for having us on your show, and hope to come back maybe next year with some cool updates.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. We look forward to it.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Len. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Karen. Take care.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Tycoons of Small Biz, proudly hosted by Austin Peterson and Landon Mance. Austin and Landon are comprehensive financial planning professionals specializing in financial, estate, and succession planning for small business owners. Austin and Landon have offices in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and represent clients in 14 states throughout the country. Join Austin, Landon, and the Featured Tycoons live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. right here on Business RadioX and your favorite